Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
All right, guys. So yesterday we had talked about this Russian anti-satellite missile test that actually blew up one of their own and caused so many different fragments that were up in the sky that are potentially hazardous. And we were talking about that Hopi prophecy as well. And then we see 30,000 plus websites down after Google Cloud outage. Now, Google says this was a technical fault. It's not related to anything else, but then again, is it?
I know, right? We got so much going on. So much is invested with this internet. So much information. How could it possibly go down? And if so, why?
And the thing that really, again, is so fascinating to think about, and maybe a lot of you guys have thought about it or have felt it, but we have an internal internet. We do have an ability to naturally connect with others. And again, when we're in the dark age, when we're in these Kali Yugas, which are cyclical, they come around, at periodic, regular intervals, then we're not in our normal state. This is not our normal state of being. This is a state of being in which so much of our abilities are suppressed and replaced by things like the technologies. And if all you really had to do was to, think about your sister and give her the message, come on the trip immediately, mom is sick. Just think about that. There would be an inner knowing that she would get if we were in, say, a golden age, and she would come because she would feel your energy, your emotions, your intent. Here we are, and we have all these tools at our hands and for our use that have made us, in some ways, very, very lazy, very, very dependent on them. Absolutely. And what's going to happen is, and we got this message last night. The controllers love to give us all these gadgets and stuff to distract us in so many ways, and also to keep us from developing our own abilities. But then they also like pulling things away, because they know it makes for more trauma. And how traumatic would it be if you didn't have your phone, you didn't have your computer, and you weren't able to use it, just from habit? It's so ingrained in our life. What do? We get up, we check the phone, we see, oh, so and so message, da 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 da. It would be trauma. So when we see these things, we know ultimately, yeah, we're getting to that point where at some point in time, things are going to be crashing for a period. And then after that, when we get into the, out of this dark age, everything's going to look different. It's not going to be a tweaking. The entire system has to crumble, completely crumble, so that things could be remade anew in a totally different way.
I would absolutely kind of love to go back to a time where I remember when I was a child, there's this book, and it's things to do for children. It was actually in the encyclopedia set. And I would go through that book and look for things to do, like with my hands and, making crafts, doing things. And that really built me up as a child. And we just don't have that anymore. We don't even have a desire to, because we have something else to go to. Um, I would love to see that time come back where we pick up a book or we pick up an item and we actually create something with it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because, again, our purpose, the whole purpose for being is creativity, co-creativity with Source, with God, with the big G. So yes, several online services, including Spotify, Snapchat, Etsy, have been experiencing international outages due to a Google Cloud networking technical fault incident not related to country-level internet disruptions or filtering. Of course, we have things going on with the sun as well. There were several comments yesterday about the interference of the Nibiru system, and causing disruptions and stuff. And so, we have talked to the guides about that in the past, and what we've gotten from the guides is that Nibiru, Planet X, that system is at this moment not really affecting us geomagnetically, so to speak. That's, a ways off before, that would be happening. And I do know that there's many that have seen different things up in the sky. And, really, a lot of us are getting so much more intuitive that we can be seeing things that are actually on fourth density, because we're not far away from fourth density. It's getting very, very close. And there are other planets in our system, many, many other planets in our system, and many that are inhabited by beings. Just as there are so many beings on Earth, in Earth, under the oceans, that we're not truly aware of in mass, and they are here, and they will show themselves again. And we got last night too. For many people in their lifespans, you will see these beings. You will see beings that were spoken of, such as the beings that you might know of as Dagon, Owans, these beings from the ocean that are living in advanced cities under the ocean. They will be showing themselves to many humans openly on the planet and in many people's lifespans. So that's an exciting thing to think of. Again, it's because of the dark controllers and their system that's here and put in place that the beings are not showing themselves at this particular time. But getting back to what's going to come as far as the disruptions, this is going to be part of our normal way of things. There's going to be more and more disruptions. Things are going to get more and more challenging. We're going to have more and more outages. Yes, the sun cycle is actually more active than anticipated, and the sun will be definitely affecting all the technologies.
Absolutely. And in some ways, I don't want to see anyone get hurt, people who depend on these technologies to get healthy. But I am, got to admit, I'm kind of anxious to get back to a time where we can sit and be human beings instead of human doings.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a blessing too. Just again, think about the creativity. Think about how fun it was as little kids to make things. Every day was so exciting. There is the statement, you must be born again. Well, we must be born again and see things through a new eye. That of a child. It's beautiful when we start to recognize the true magic that's out there. When we look at the headlines and we can see what's coming, and it's being very, very telegraphed. It's pretty obvious. Here you see the Ukraine telling EU leaders prepare for war with Russia. That's a pretty blunt statement right there. And we look at this and what's happening, and this statement, Poland is under attack. This is planned and orchestrated, and it is an invasion. And absolutely, are there truly people that are just looking to better themselves and get somewhere better and hope for a new life? Absolutely. And again, their lives have been upended by the nonstop warfare that goes on this planet, which again is orchestrated. This is that whole. Again, I keep going back to the Tower of Babel. It says it all right there. The Tower of Babel says it all. Come, look. When they're united, who knows what they could do? And they will be united again. But when the Dark Age comes, then they divide and they get us just fighting each other. And it's absolute insanity. As we see, Belarus and Russia charge Poland with escalating border crisis for firing water cannons at migrants in freezing temperatures, as well as using chemicals and tear gas, things along those lines. There have been cases of people breaking through. There have been, people have said that the Belarusian army has given the migrants wire cutters and pointed them in the direction, go. Is this orchestrated? Absolutely. I mean, how could we not see this grand, symphony of destruction that is right out there in front of us? It's so obvious to so many that are awake, unfortunately. It's just crazy that so many are still asleep, but it's because they're walking blindly like zombies. because of, in many cases, the technologies. Our heads are just wrapped into things that don't really mean too much, like following celebrities and, what's this one doing? What's that one doing? Those things, really, I don't even like to see anything flash up as far as an advertisement, because it makes me so nauseous to think about what a waste of time, what a waste of life it is, as we get caught up in these dramas that are intentionally set up there to just keep us going around, like a dog chasing its tail, getting nowhere. A rat or a mouse on a wheel, again, going nowhere. Meanwhile, U.S. says routinely operates in sync with allies after jet seen over the Poland-Belarus border. Things are very, very tense. Very, very tense, absolutely. And the guides say that, this is, as close as we have been, to that third conflagration, which, perhaps has been in the planning from not even really dozens of years, maybe more than hundreds of years. Maybe it's just part of this same script that keeps coming down through the cycles, time and time and time again. That is what we have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing. It looks like it's amazing. Oh my God, it's a miracle. No, it's not. I mean, this is again, when you're on, say, a roller coaster ride, and you've taken that roller coaster ride 100 times, you know the twists and the turns, they're going to be there. You know what happens next, because you've even built the roller coaster in case of the architects of this grand symphony of destruction. So they know what's next.
Oh, well, yeah, they have the owner's manual. They wrote the owner's manual, so they know all the little tips and tricks in between. Just like those who make video games, they know all the little ins and outs and things that haven't been thought of, and tricks to do to get what they want, and they play that very, very well. They use it all the time.
Absolutely, and even knowing emotional responses that people will have to things that just, are obviously things that don't make sense. Things that come across as being, well, doesn't seem like that's the right thing to do. But here we see illegal immigrants get up to 10.5 billion from reconciliation bill. And again, when we look at how the monetary system is so used as a tool, it's a tool for those that follow along and, blindly accept and blindly acquiesce to, the controller agenda. Here you go. It's a good old little pat on the back, and you get your gold star on your forehead, and you get a little money as well. Yeah, cash welfare to illegal immigrants. Interesting. No social security number, no documentation, no nothing. So obviously, if you guys go back to, say, the migrants that came in from Ireland, for instance, back in, I want to say, like around the 1840s, 1860s, and through, around the Civil War time, and just before, just after, there was a lot of things that were very, very shady, so to speak, going on. In order to, here, all you got to do is as soon as you get off the boat, you sign here, you become part of this group, right? And you get these benefits. And, people in desperate situations are, just looking to make lives better for their families. So it's kind of natural. And we see this headline over here. As you see, they had a little teleconference, 46 and G. Okay, I was going to come up with something really a little bit off color there, but I won't. So, Xi calls for rational U.S. policy, lays out red lines in a 3.5-hour respectful summit with Biden. Just, deciphering that. He's calling for rational U.S. policy. He's laying out the red lines. It's so obvious, how the strings go, and the strings go from the controllers, and they might go to one puppet, and that controls another puppet. And I think we could see the way the chain of command goes here. Can we not?
Oh my gosh, it's so clear.
It's so clear. It's so obvious that it's just, almost it's just amazing. And then we see China sends 8 warplanes into Taiwan's air identification zone just hours after their cozy virtual meeting, with maybe bubble bath and rubber duckies involved.
Of course.
I could see that.
It's adorable.
But you know who scratches whose back first.
Oh God, I don't need that vision. Yikes. You? No, I'm gonna be yuck today. Oh well.
Here's a question from the Jerusalem Post. Satellites, ships, and crosshairs, are Russia and China running circles around the U.S.? Russia is carrying out missile tests on satellites, and China has built mock U.S. aircraft carriers for target practice. Are these threats to the U.S.? Now, there was a comment, too, that China has done that forever, but then as far as building the mock aircraft carriers, which I do remember seeing an article a couple of years back, something like that, too. But when you put every single thing that's going on right now, is this time different? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are so much closer to them implementing the next stage in this drama. And, you have China overtaking the U.S. as the wealthiest country. You have, obviously these advanced missile systems that are showing up where all of a sudden, China and Russia have jumped past. And at some point in time, if there was, say, a WW3 that happened, and it was an alliance of those two countries, there are many that feel, and many very good sources that show that eventually they might turn on each other. Well, I mean, that's the way of this system. It's always getting people to turn on each other. That's what it's all about. Pentagon says it has authority to require the Oklahoma National Guard to you-know-what. And this came after the National Guard, head was saying, no, we're not going along with it. Pentagon is saying, yes, you're going to. And so what happens? Well, that's
to be seen.
That's to be seen, But what is obviously happening is the disintegration. As we've talked about, Pluto return, things get made anew and totally remade. And sometimes things just simply end, as far as, the way that they were. Empires, they crumble. It's just part of it. By the way, Gibraltar, the most something region on Earth, canceled Christmas after it has soaring cases of the plague upon the land. So they've actually canceled Christmas over there. And
wow.
Here we see the longest lunar eclipse in centuries going to happen this week. What do you think about that?
That was funny. When I heard that about the eclipse and how long it's going to last, the first thing that flew through my mind is like, oh, wow, there must be change in light bulbs. They're doing something very large. I feel it's going to bring a very interesting frequency. I have yet to understand or get that understanding of what kind of frequency is going to go through us. But it's definitely going to bring changes to everything. It's going to start a ball rolling in a certain direction. And, I think we have, providing what it is, we can give it the right momentum and the right direction to help us evolve.
Yeah, this eclipse is going to last 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 23 seconds. It's the longest in centuries. And when you think about it, isn't it just an interesting coincidence that the distance that the moon is from the sun makes it such that it just perfectly will eclipse the size of the sun, where the sun is distance-wise from the earth. When you start to look at it now, people will say, well, that's just God's perfect, showing how perfect he is in the placement of the moon and the sun. Really, I think that's a very naive way of looking at things. When we look deeper in, the moon rang like a bell when we first landed on it, or in one of the first landings. It appeared to be hollow the way it rang. There's also the samples that we've taken from the moon. Some believe that we never landed on the moon. And while the official footage and stuff of the moon landings may be just totally BS, and it could have been orchestrated anywhere, maybe out in the Mexican desert, what have you. The fact is that, it's not what it appears to be. There are no coincidences. There are cultures that say there was a time that they remember when the moon wasn't here. There are some cultures, there's an African tribe that says that the moon was placed there by two brothers when they came here, and they happened to be kind of on the scaly side, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And, these brothers put it there as a control mechanism. And then, of course, we have so many people out there now that are channeling as well and talking about the moon being a base, which it very, very much is. And, it is something that was brought into place. It's actually fascinating, to get into all that and to get into the fact that at one time Saturn might have been the original sun. And, it's just fascinating. Saturn, Saturday, and the Sabbath being on Saturdays, and the sun and Sunday, and the sun is the new holy day of the newer system. The Sabbath, Saturday, was of the older system if we're looking at the Abrahamic tradition. And the lunar deities that are associated with all this. When we have two X's mark the spot, and I always think about that as well. And is this the creator talking to us? I don't think so. I mean, it might be the creator of the Matrix that we're in, but not the creator of all. And of course, the two X's that marked the spot, one of those eclipses was in August 2017. We're more than halfway towards that second eclipse now. Which is going to happen in April of 2024, and this is a huge period. People have equated that to the 7 years of tribulation on the planet, and it sure has been turbulent. That's for sure. Again, does that prove that it's the creator of the multiverse of all that there is and all that there isn't, but all that there will be that did all this? No, because we know there's advanced technologies that can do all these things. And if these extraterrestrial interdimensional beings have been around much, much longer than us, what if they are a million years ahead of us? What would that look like? That would boggle the mind. And even when we just look to what we are capable of during a golden age, and we've gotten from the guides, and we mentioned it in a video recently, when you look at the Sumerian kings lists and you see people, ruling for 40,000 years, it's not a typo. But they didn't really rule, per se. That, again, is the controllers coming in and trying to give credence to a system. And, that system is that you must obey. You must conform. Obey, conform, consume, repeat. It's very much like Rowdy Roddy Piper showed in They Live, with all the subliminals constantly hitting us, all the signals constantly barraging us. The internet itself is a highway system for these 4D entities to pop in and out. They could pop into your room anytime, traveling along the wavelengths. This is really one of the major purposes of the internet, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think most definitely when it comes to our history books and looking at the King's List, that the controllers would put in a history to make things feel normal. It's like, oh, well, things have always been this way, so let's let them continue to be this way. And that's why we have the history written the way it is. It's to bring about a certain level of acceptance. Because when you have acceptance from the masses, then you're not going to have much resistance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, they focus on certain areas and try to get our attention away from other areas. Like if we started to say, there were massive cities over here in the Americas and in the Amazon, for instance, high cultures of people getting along. Again, these are in different ages, and they've even terrified people of a fundamentalist mindset to even say the two words together, New Age.
Those are forbidden words.
Yeah, it's like they go running terrified.
Like, you New Ager, darn you.
Yeah, well, because what is the New Age now? New Age has been infiltrated, as everything is infiltrated by these controllers. As soon as there's something that is uplifting, as soon as one of the benevolent beings makes an incarnation and teaches us how the universe really works, how things really work in this dark age, they will be doing that openly when we've reached a high enough vibrational point that we can reach them. We have to reach them, and because, again, even right now, many people are finding that they can't stand being around people of a lower frequency. It's just painful. Well, it's the same thing with these beings. Now, we wouldn't be able to, in many cases, if we're lower vibrational, we probably would be blinded by their light, so to speak. And also, to lower their frequency enough. There, was another comment yesterday. Well, why don't they just come and really help us instead of giving us these messages? Again, it's our trip. This is our ride. We're the ones on the roller coaster. They're on the side. They're not on the roller coaster. They've been there, done that. They're at a much higher level. It's up to the individual soul to achieve things, because if you have somebody else do it for you, you're not going to advance. I think the same people that say that are perhaps in some cases, not always, the people that would say, hey, I know that you aced the test. Would you take the test for me so I could pass and get out of here? It's that mindset. No, we have to actually pass the test. We can't have somebody else do the test for us. And then at the same time, there are many here that pass the test 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. They just keep coming back to help others pass the test by cheering them on, not by doing it for them.
Right. It's not a test if you know all the answers. And that's something that would be being robbed from you if they were to come down here and do everything for us. If you think of how you feel every time you get something done and you do it correctly or you conquer it, and feel how proud of yourself you are when you put together that IKEA cabinet all by yourself. It's like, yay, we want that feeling for ourselves. That builds soul growth.
It really does. It really, really does. So, it's fascinating. And so many people have seen the U.S. Breaking up. And, we've gotten, again, that we are much closer to times of, trial.
Yeah.
At times they're going to try our souls and try us in many ways. This is a marathon. So, again, if we're holding out hope that, the white hats, they're on the other side of the hill. They're going to come and everything's going to be okay, because, next week we're going to have Nasara or Gesara for the whole globe.
Right.
It's going to happen next week, guys. Don't worry. It's going to happen next week. We get these dates, we had people saying dates, wait till November. Everything's going to be okay last year in November. Everything's going to be okay in January. Well, no, it's going to be in March. No, it's going to be in April. No, it's going to be in June. No, it's going to be in August. It's like it's going to be in September.
Yeah, it's like forever moving that carrot,
Yeah. Now, some, I've had friends say, don't you think there's any hope? Of course we do. We're just not putting our hope in somebody else. We're recognizing, we have to get through this time truly by reaching hands with each other, by building alternative systems, support networks. If we could go back to the people in, say, Poland. Look at Poland right now, right? It's at that critical juncture. And say we could, go back to the people of Poland a month or two before the Blitzkrieg, before, the Nazis rolled their panzers into Poland, and just try to get people, this is coming, guys. This is coming. You might want to work out things now. You might want to dig tunnels right now. You might want to, hide some livestock right now. You might want to hide some food, because when these armies come in and they take over areas, they just take what they want, and this has happened throughout history, where in Oklahoma, the poor tribes, for instance, that were brought there in the Trail of Tears, when the Civil War was going on, you'd have you'd have, like, say, the Union Army come sweeping in, and they would just take every one of your cows, leaving you with nothing. Hey, you're gonna have to figure out what to do. We got an army to feed. And recognize what's happening. What if we could go back and warn people right before the start of these events, to go ahead, hide supplies, hide, things that you're going to need. Don't put all your eggs in one little basket as well. Work with your neighbors, to support each other. Just say, what happens in a worst case scenario? Like, we do lose the power, we do lose the grid for 6 months. What are we going to do? Seriously, what are we going to do? Well, I know the neighbor over there, he's got a hell of a garden. He seems to like something that we have.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Maybe, maybe he has seen something on our front porch or something. He knows that we are into drumming. Maybe there's something that we could trade.
Yeah, think about it in terms of barter and trade. And, the whole fact that we have more than ever people talking about secession, and, thousands signing petitions to secede from the United States, and a whole bunch of states that are very unhappy with the direction of things going on. And of course, all this is going to make us, weaker. But then again, we have the Trojan horse thing that's going on. It's very, very real. And this was, a Russian professor's prediction of how the U.S. will split up. And this was like 30 years ago, he predicted this, 30 to 40 years ago.
I mean, yeah, I've seen that very same pattern. I've seen that before in my own visions. The problem with, creating a pattern and putting it online, it's there for all to see forever. When you look into timelines, they're liable to change at any time. And that's one of the problems I have been having. Like, I look at the timeline, I ask, okay, what is this going to look like at this time? And the closer I get, it's almost like things move and shift. So you have to, it's like catching a snapshot of something.
Well, when you're describing that, that's speaking quantum physics to me. Because we know it's the observer that creates the reality. In reality, there's all these tiny, tiny, tiny little, view it as tiny little dust specks. And all these dust specks, when you are not looking at it, they're just random, right? They're just floating around. Then when you look and you focus, all of a sudden they take a shape. They come together and they take a shape. This is, how our reality works on a quantum level. So yeah, when you have all these people out there and they recognize this, again, we do outnumber these controllers vastly, even though they understand how the universe works much more than the average person does. And they do have all sorts of tools at their use that they could pull on. And they could pull one after another out when things are not going the way they expected or wanted, to try to alter it. Like when we see a timeline all of a sudden coming into a more favorable light for humanity, they'll pull something else. And again, when things are not going their way with a certain, major part of their plan, they often pull the WAR card, because that's guaranteed to lower frequencies and vibrations, to turn people into walking zombies and to make massive trauma. But what we have seen is that things need to be broken down to be rebuilt. Again, this is like this, when you look at it, you can't put a small band-aid on an amputated limb. It ain't going to work. There's all different thoughts, and boy, now people they're out there and they're really thinking about what is it going to look like when the states break up, because more people than ever believe it is going to break up, and in many cases many believe it has to. But when we also, see that the controllers do have it planned as a breakup, and who's going to control what, I think that is still completely up in the air. But what's not up in the air is that it is going to not be the way it was. That things are changing. Things have to change. We have to have change. It's obvious. And Mary Magdalene came through and was sharing that when they see things like this and they see this chaos, they know we're at the very end of the Kali Yuga. We're at the very end. So, the dawning of the better age is upon us, but we have the scariest part of the ride is right ahead. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. You might have thought that first slope was the biggest one. No. It's right at the end of this roller coaster ride that things get the craziest. And so, what will it look like? I think it still is up for us to create what it's going to look like.
It's definitely up for us to decide. So we have these little windows where we can energetically step in and create the kind of future that we want our children to see and that we want to be a part of. But it's a little bit tricky. It's like this caption of time where I think focusing on an outcome where we want to see people in complete harmony is the one best thought form to have out there, so that we can create our reality around that. And then we have to be allowing of letting the energies fall into line. So not everything is going to be perfect while this is happening, but our consensus reality and that we want to achieve is going to come to us in a certain way. So it's that certain way, and how things come together that's all kind of like a surprise. It's like opening a present.
Yeah, that will give us some comments there, I'm sure.
Sorry, guys. I hope nobody gets sad about that.
But it's true, and so what Cindy was seeing now when she was viewing it is that there's going to be a different degree of freedoms in different areas. This is one of the reasons why we did leave where we were, where honestly the whole time in Nevada I felt extremely uncomfortable. For many reasons. Yes, the great earth changes, when they do happen, Nevada is going to have a lot of change, and we still have family there that is not willing to leave. And that really does sadden us, as we would love to have them closer to where our new home is, because we feel it's a little bit better. No place is perfect. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, anywhere we are, we can make our little safe zones within even some of the more challenging zones. And again, it's by coming together and pulling together. When we look to the left coast, you see in this particular map, somebody, and this is not ours, none of those were our maps that we have drawn up. And even if we drew it up today, it will change some, because everybody's consciousness is contributing to this. But you see that they have drawn up the People's Republic of American colonies. It feels like the left coast that you're looking at there is going to be probably the area that has the most tightest controls on it, the least freedoms, the most restrictive. There's a lot going on, and you have to listen to your guides. How do you do that? You have a daily spiritual practice, and not necessarily listening to every channel out there.
Right.
again, we're trying to get people to develop their own practice so they could listen to their guides. Because, for us, hey, the Republic of Texas might sound great, but to somebody else, they might find their little zone somewhere in Oregon, Washington, maybe Utah, maybe Montana, maybe it's going to be in Wisconsin, maybe it's going to be over in Ohio or South Carolina, or maybe it'll be up in New Hampshire or Maine, or maybe it'll be totally out of the country, because each one of us has basically our own soul contracts going on. There's certain things that we come in for, and a lot of times it might boggle your mind, but we come in knowing the dangers, because we're here on a mission. So a lot of times it's like we've chosen to place ourselves, right in, right on the edge of the frying pan with the fire licking at our boots.
I kind of notice that about myself sometimes. I get out of certain situations just barely. And I mean by the skin of my teeth. And I swear I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to set my life up like that. But that's how it happens. But thank goodness, it seems like every time the guides have come through and they've really gotten me out of some pretty serious situations. And here I am, thank goodness, able to help guide other people through very difficult times. It is a true blessing. So all of this knowledge, like when we have someone, we're working on them and I have information that might help them, I could never take away what my past has brought to me, because then I wouldn't be able to bring that knowledge and information to you to help you on your journey. So all of our journeys are very important, very unique, sometimes very, very scary, but always useful.
And build your ties again, build your spiritual practice. I don't think there's anything more important than that. Again, we are spiritual beings having a physical existence. This incarnation, this entire incarnation, is just a chapter in your soul. It's a chapter. And in some cases, it might only be a single page. The guides have blessed us to show, for instance, my own incarnations. And, this is just one more piece, to the bigger puzzle. It's such a small portion, even though it's important. It's a small portion, and we take from our experiences the benefits of these experiences. When your soul goes and takes a chance on incarnating in a timeline, the one we find here, the reward on the other side for successful completion is amazing soul growth. And that we take with us. We don't take any of our belongings with us. Obviously, we don't even take our physical body in almost every single instance. There are cases, though, of people ascending physically where, poof, they're gone. But that is extreme rarity. But we do take the experiences, and what we did, how we acted, how we served others, that's the biggest thing, because that is what catapults the soul closer to God, closer to Source.
Right. And for many of you, finding out why you descended is a big, big part of your ascension. Understanding why you came here, what did you come here to do, what's the bigger picture, will assist in your ascension. And this is all paint such a beautiful picture. It's really incredible to see this time in evolution where people are finding out who they really are. It's like, wow, what am I made of? And you're very incredible. So this is just a beautiful time, and we're blessed to be here, even though there's going to be some difficult times. And that's okay. With change, you do get difficulties.
Absolutely. And every single individual has the potential to become, an angel, so to speak. Again, an angel is a being that kind of keeps order in the universe and helps others. And that is our potential. If your soul chooses to do that, and goes through the proper experiences that bring to the soul growth, where you can get yourself into that vibrational frequency, then it's a possibility. And it's not like there's a separation where we can't achieve these things or we're always going to be stuck in a certain frequency. No, we could go way above, way above. There really is no limitation to what we can achieve as far as the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as the Bhagavad Gita says, these bodies are shed just like garments. When they're no more useful, then we shed them. But we take our experiences, we take our knowledge, and we move forward and we grow upwards.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can descend.
Mm-hmm.
As if we give in to the hatred, give in to all those negative lower vibrational frequencies that things like war create.
Yeah, when I say descended, it's like what I'm meaning about that is why people chose to come down here to the 3D. What was your mission? And it is kind of a descension because you're coming here in this 3D physical body. That's what I mean by that.
Exactly. And they've so twisted things that they got people afraid of themselves. And people don't even realize that they've gotten you afraid of who you are.
Or in disbelief of some kind, to have you think so little of yourself, like, who am I to be able to do that? Who are you? You are a piece of source.
You are.
That's who you are.
You are. And it's hilarious because people just don't realize, and some people, many people do. Many people have done the soul work and the soul growth, and they understand. But unfortunately, still, the masses don't understand their potential. And so, when people of a fundamentalist pursuit are just terrified about fallen angels, and they don't realize in many cases they are the fallen angels. Mm-hmm. What's an angel? Again, a messenger of source in one way, a messenger of the light, a servant unto others, a being that's here to try to maintain balance and order. And here we are encapsulated in these 3D bodies that are just vehicles for the soul in this dark age. But we have the potential to be angels, mm-hmm. and even in some cases up higher. So there is no limit to what we can achieve. But the testing ground is these periods. And when we're talking about like this type of dark age that we're in right now, it's starting to crumble. It still has time to go. I hate to tell you guys, it's not over tomorrow. It won't be over next week. It won't be over next year. Think in terms of a marathon again. It's going to take a little while to wrest control and to totally dissolve the system. But, be prepared for that marathon. Train for that marathon. Right. Mentally train, emotionally train, and most importantly, spiritually train for it. Keep that peace in your heart. Let that peace grow, and know that you are helping to anchor the light.
Right. Always be in that position where you're doing your very best. And when you don't know what to do, just keep doing the next right thing and you'll be okay. These are just really tough times. And we've heard from so many light workers that are so extremely sensitive. What is going on? Well, it's a big, big change. And with big change can come some wounds. But you're going to get through it. You're going to be okay.
So if you want to focus on your own spiritual growth, your own soul growth, then we do have to keep love, compassion, and even forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
It's so key, the forgiveness, because again, the forgiveness is for the one that is forgiving.
Right.
And, again, this entire life is just but one chapter in the soul's journey. So thank you guys so much for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. As always, we couldn't do it without you guys. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.